Friends, this course is devoted to research methods, and this is a 10 lecture course. We are starting with the topic defining a research problem. This course is designed for MA, MPhil, postgraduate and PhD students in sociology, and it sensitizes scholars or researchers to different methodologies, perspectives and sources of data that we use in research in sociology. This course will also illustrate approaches with examples based on researches in India, and in some lectures I will give examples of my own research. I have kept in mind the fact that in India students of sociology do not have technical or mathematical background, and therefore this course does not assume any specific mathematical, algebraic or advanced statistical training on the part of students. Now, before defining a research problem, let us understand the meaning of research. What is research? What is the nature of research? Means, what are different components of research? Who does research? For what purpose? What different procedures, methodologies, methods are involved in conducting research? What are socio-economic, political, geographical contexts of research? What is the purpose of research? What are structural influences? You understand the term social structure very well. It refers to sum total of expected or normative relationships in society, and in simple terms it will mean the differences in different institutional patterns of society. Like in our case, this would mean the structure of marriage, political institution of democracy, educational institutions that we have developed in various parts of the country from primary level to advanced levels and so on. And what are alternative ways of doing research on the same topic with the same purpose? You can do research by using different methodologies, different ways. So, this course will also look at what are different ways of conducting research in sociology and other related issues that might be important for students of research. Now, first of all, friends, we may like to spend some time on what is research. Now, somebody may say that research is the process of discovering new laws or facts. In sociology, we also use the term research for confirming or rejecting a social theory. Research is also done to assist planners like Planning Commission. Earlier we had Planning Commission, now we have Niti Aayog and various ministries. They have their own research wing, NGOs and various other service providers with data. Research is also considered to be a tool of management decisions in different fields, in industry, in government, in NGOs, in educational institutions, in voluntary development organizations and so on. Research is used also for modeling and prediction, building models or representations of social reality and making predictions with the help of them, and system simulation. System simulation is based on some kind of modeling, but it is more than modeling. Modeling is done by analytical mathematicians also, but system simulation based on Monte Carlo process or other processes may employ the concept of probability, uncertainty, complexity. As this course unfolds, we will see some of these ideas. Now, discovering new facts. What does discovering new facts mean? It is important to understand right in the beginning that research is a community activity. It is not an individual activity, and research is organized search for new facts, and it is not serendipitous. What is serendipity? We will define this in a later slide, but it means that research is planned and organized. It is not sudden, it is not opportunistic. Like this image here of serendipity shows that it refers to chance, coincidence, fate, fortuity, luck, providence or opportunity. No, it is not. Research is not serendipity. Research is organized. And what are facts? If I define facts in traditional sociological terms, they refer to various kinds of regularities at the macro level, patterns or pattern behavior. New facts may mean several things in literature. New facts may mean new in time, or it may mean that newly observed or new focus of the research community. There are new facts which are newly observed, which did not exist in the past, or they existed in the past, but they are the new focus of research community today. Yesterday nobody was interested in those facts. Like at one time, researchers were not so much interested in studying patterns of opportunities and outcomes among different caste communities in India. Now, since the concept of inclusive growth has come in our 5-year plans, we have also started collecting data on various things: infant mortality, maternal mortality, services, housing condition, educational achievement, dropout rates and many other things separately for general category, OBC, SC, ST, and so this is the new focus of research. Now, everyone is not authorized to produce new facts. So, when we talk of new facts, we refer to facts generated by certain institutions or authorities which have been authorized by society or by government or by the power structure to produce new facts. Now, this organized search requires money, man of course, and material and time, and that means for research you need somebody to spend money. You can call them sponsors of research or donors. Now, when research is donor driven and not conducted by so called value neutral academician or expert or scholar who has no political interest, then sometimes it may also involve a conflict of interest of the sponsors and the discovery of truth. Now, friends, serendipity exists in sciences and it refers to unplanned and sudden discoveries. I will give you examples. For example, Daniel David Palme discovered chiropractic in 1895, which is quite popular in the United States today. It is a medical practice. It comes under alternative system of medicines or healing. He found that through realignment of displaced vertebrae, he could treat a chronic case of deafness and a case of heart problems. He himself did not know that there could be a relationship between displacement of vertebrae and problems, physical problems or treatment of physical problems, remedies. It was a serendipity, or the discovery of law of gravitation by observing an apple falling from a tree. Newton developed the law of gravity. This is serendipity, or people believe this to be of serendipitous nature. In social sciences there is no Newton, and in social sciences there is no serendipity. Theories of Marx and Weber we often talk about are not serendipitous, but the outcomes of sustained studies, hard work and observations. They are intentional works, they are done deliberately with some motivation to achieve certain results which can be used maybe for law making or for interventions in social structure. Or again, to repeat, social science research is planned and organized, therefore it needs sponsors, donors, time, money, material and other resources. The components of research are, first of all, there must be some research question, some questions to explore. Researches may be devoted to only one question, or they may contain, or they may attempt to answer a number of related questions. Research involves going through literature on the subject, or existing literature, or called review of literature sometime. Knowledge of theories, prevailing theories in that subject, in that field of study in which you want to work. Then data or field observations. Logical and statistical ways to organize or analyze data. I am saying logical and statistical because certain types of researches depend on statistical analysis, while certain other kinds of researches use a more logical and reflexive approach to analyze observations, narratives, qualitative data or field observations. Then researches are expected to produce certain findings which are related to original questions. And research also involves, remember that research also involves communication to peer groups through journal publications and research reports. You have not done any research if you have not published any paper in a peer reviewed journal. Nowadays we say in A category journal. When we recruit faculty candidates, we ask how many papers you have published in A plus or A category journals, at least B category journal. Without publishing papers in A plus, A or B category journals, you are not considered to be a good researcher. So, I would say that publication is also a part of your research. You have not done any research if your work does not have credibility. I know that when papers are sent for publication to European and US journals, sometime in some areas at least, they are not seriously considered for publication because the Indian data and Indian researchers lack credibility. We have to improve upon this. And you have not done any research if you refuse to share your data. This is part of reliability and validity of your findings. If you did not use the scientific community norms of doing research, research is not arbitrary. It does not depend on your whims and fancies. Research is done according to certain norms developed by the research community in your field, and you have to follow those norms. Unless you can relate your procedures, your methodologies, your methods to those norms of conducting research, you are not considered to be a serious researcher. And also a new requirement these days, you have not done any research if your research proposal was not cleared by some ethical review board, maybe in your own institution or maybe some other institution which is authorized to clear researches on ethical grounds. Let me give you some examples of new facts. After independence, the government, non-government organizations and academicians required demographic facts for planning, theorizing, interventions and monitoring of population programs. Now, these facts related to population size, growth rate, composition of population according to age, sex, marital status, education, work status, migration and so on, structure of population or distribution of population according to geographical regions, age distribution of population, sex distribution of population and vital rates. Vital rates mean fertility, mortality, and that means knowing birth rates, fertility rates, age specific fertility rates, total fertility rate and other measures of fertility and measures of death rates, infant mortality, maternal mortality, child mortality, adult mortality, mortality at older ages. And at that time we did not have a good knowledge, a good estimate even of crude birth rate and crude death rate, because census was the only source of information and it did not include data from which birth rates and death rates could be directly estimated. So, new institutions were created, like National Sample Survey Organization was created, Sample Registration Scheme was created, International Institute of Population Sciences was created subsequently to conduct research and do teaching in the field of population. There was an NGO, Operations Research Group, or in short ORG, which was authorized to collect facts about knowledge, attitude and practice of family planning, in short KAP. And today we have such a situation that we have lots of agencies to collect data. We have surplus data collected by both government organizations and non-government organizations. Now we need more of analysis, data are already there. Now let us look at some aims of researches: confirming, rejecting a social theory. Academic researchers work with theories, and at BA level, ML level you have all learnt about various kinds of theories. There are macro level theories, micro theories, grand theories, and in each field of sociology and other social sciences there are multiple theories, substantive theories, which explain not the master processes of change, but something specific. Substantive theory of migration, for example, or substantive theory of fertility. Then the question, which one is more adequate? You have to choose a theory, or you can make a combination of theories. Does the conflict theory explain the problem of poverty better than functional theory? There have been all kinds of attempts. Some people like Gans have analyzed poverty by using functional. They have different types of questions. A large number of researchers have applied Marxist theory to explain poverty. They raise different kinds of questions, but both theories can possibly be applied to study poverty. Does the third world development reject the theory of stages of growth? Rostow's theory of growth, we say that in a primitive society there is a pre-takeoff stage which arises from mobilization of resources, then take off through investment, savings, then drive towards maturity and a state of mass consumption. Does the developments in the third world countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America conform to the model of stages of growth, or does Lee's theory of migration reject or support the push-pull theory of migration? Does it add anything to push-pull theory of migration? Another aim of research is assisting planners and service providers with data, like the example of population I have given. The questions posed before such researchers are: what is the present level of poverty? Is poverty declining or increasing? At what rate? This also involves conceptual, definitional and data based issues. When you collect data on something, you have to operationalize it, you have to measure it. So, like domestic violence, National Family Health Surveys have included questions on domestic violence. With time these questions have been changing. We are trying to improve upon the operationalization of the construct of domestic violence. Definition of urban locality has been changing in Indian censuses. So, there are these types of conceptual definitional issues. Employment issues, employment rates in formal and informal sectors. We want to know what is employment rate. Is employment declining or increasing? What happened to employment with openness of economy? What happened during last 4, 5, 10 years? What are the reasons of falling or rising employment rate? And what are employment rates for men, women, general category, SC, ST, OBCs and for different educational levels? What is the condition of disabled? Who is disabled? What are various types of disabilities? Look at the census definition of disability. There is one question on disability, and you can see governments needed data on number of disabled or percentage disabled for policy making, for reservation of certain jobs and seats in educational institutions for disabled people. So, they require data on disability. Similarly, in promotion of health, in health planning, we will need data on mental disorders, physical disorders as well as mental disorders, and what are facilities for treatment of mental disorders in the country or in different states. Now, from this perspective, research is a tool of management decisions. If poverty is increasing, then management or government of India or state governments have to decide about some policy changes so that poverty can be reduced. Does brand value matter? Industries are concerned about brand value, their identity, their prestige, their credibility, and they require researches on does brand value matter and how can they improve upon their brand value. How many service centers are, for example, ticket windows at railway stations are optimum in order to reduce waiting time by half. In the field of health, somebody can ask, has Janani Suraksha Yojana helped in reducing maternal mortality rate in the country? Is Manrega able to create sustainable assets in rural areas? Main purpose of Manrega was employment generation, but it was also supposed to create assets. What assets have been created? What is the value of those assets? Are they sustained? Who manages these assets? What is the role of the community in maintenance of assets? Is community willing to pay for maintenance of assets? These are some questions of policy. Is it worth spending resources on family planning program? Another aim of research is modeling and prediction. Predicting, say, population of India, predicting short term and long term economic consequences of fertility decline, the economic consequences of fertility decline in short term and in long term may be different, and we want to know both in short term and long term the consequences of fertility decline. Similarly, modeling of industrialization, sustainable development, impact of industry on urbanization, carbon emission, crowding, modeling the impact of urban renewal on employment. I know that sociologists usually do not engage in modeling and prediction, but yes, some sociologists who follow certain specific positivistic tradition do this kind of work also. And the fourth aim is system simulation. System simulation differs slightly from the modeling in the sense in which I have used this term earlier. Modeling is largely mathematical and analytical, while system simulation may also involve probabilistic relationships, complex relationships, and uncertainties, complexities of various kinds, and you can do simulations of neighborhood relations, method use in family planning, and say number of children. Finally, approaches to Naxalite violence, this will require simulation because lots of variables like major actors, perspectives, cost of violence, efficiency of administration, collusion between companies, contractors, vested interests, castes, communities, history of conversion to Christianity in Naxalite areas, and castes, etc., identities are involved. To repeat, research attacks the armchair philosophy. Research uses empirical method and is an organized activity. It is based on comparisons and generalizations, is linked with social development, is worth spending money and time, should sustain researchers' interest for prolonged time, does not violate ethical principles, and does not deprive the subjects on which research is conducted of their rights. Now, types of researches you know are theoretical and empirical, theoretical and applied. Applied is mostly empirical, and empirical may further be divided into three categories: exploratory, descriptive, and inferential. Theoretical research raises new issues or deals with a controversial theoretical issues like what is postmodern view of consumption or consumerism. This does not require empirical data. This needs to do some theoretical work, desk work, or sit in the library or collect material from internet. Now, this kind of research is of interest to the academic community, universities and research centers. Findings are disseminated through peer reviewed journals and books, fills up the gap in knowledge, theoretical knowledge, and is based on the norms of scientific rigor. Let me give you example of theoretical research. Louis Wirth's theory of urbanism, which was published in American Journal of Sociology in 1938, is an example of theoretical research. Urbanism, he showed, is much larger than as shown by the statistics of size, density and heterogeneity. It produces new social conditions and institutions. What are they? This was the subject matter of research. Similarly, Everett Lee's theory of migration, published in Demography in 1966, it was a comprehensive theory combining factors at place of origin, place of destination, intervening obstacles and personality factors on which earlier empirical researchers working in the field of migration had spent some time. Theoretical writings, I give you some example of this. In September 1998 issue of Sociological Bulletin, with which all of you, all Indian sociology students are familiar, reviewing works of Durkheim, Weber, Radcliffe Brown and others, Andre Bethe, an eminent sociologist of India, showed how sociology may be influenced by nationalistic values and how it can be made value neutral by recognizing the sacred character of human person, a universal person, human person. Now, this is a piece of theoretical research. He did not collect any empirical data, he did not do any field work or collect any primary or secondary data for this kind of research. Another example, in the same issue of Sociological Bulletin, Yogen Singh showed that traditions pass into the realm of rational and instrumental values as they seek to become more existentially rooted. Now, these rational and instrumental values are considered to be the center of modernization, economic development, rationalization, and Yogen Singh is trying to say that tradition and modernization are not two independent things. He concluded that we need an interactive relationship between modernity and tradition within the framework of pluralism. Now, this means that earlier people looked at modernity and tradition in dualistic framework, that a traditional society gradually becomes modern by following a linear and well accepted path of modernization. But Professor Yogen Singh is saying that various combinations, penetrations and interactions between traditions and modernity are possible, and in India within the framework of pluralism we have to explore what kind of shape interaction between tradition and modernization is taking and what is most suited for us. Applied research involves generation of new facts or solves practical problems. Obviously, this kind of research will be sponsored by planners or donors. It is conducted by consultants, research organizations, market research organizations, and the findings are submitted to the donor in the form of research reports and executive summaries and may be confidential. Sometimes donors may say, like DRDO may ask you to do some research on socio-economic, psychological aspects of some defense organization or problem that defense personnel are facing and so on, but they will ask you to keep the findings or the research report confidential and not write a paper on the basis of that. Similarly, international NGOs like Population Council have their own journals which publish applied research in demography, sociology and economy. Some other examples of applied research, what do applied researchers produce? There was a paper on the effect of retirement on self-reported health, a gender comparison in Italy. It was published in Vienna Yearbook of Population Research in 2014, and the finding was quite interesting. The self-reported health of men worsens shortly after retirement, while the self-reported health of women does not change. Similarly, UNICEF promoted district situation analysis of HIV/AIDS. We will come to some of these points later. These are examples of applied research. Now, if this is research, how do we identify a research problem as students of sociology? Research problem is that you want to explore in your study. Ask whether your problem is relevant to explore, for whom. Your research problem determines your research design, timeline, sample size, type of analysis required, and therefore it is important to ponder on the research problem. Can you think of a research problem? Students, particularly PhD students, they spend a lot of time thinking about research problem. They sometimes come to you, sir, tell us on what problem can I do my PhD. They find it difficult to identify an interesting research problem for academic community. I give them some simple answers. If you have not found a research problem, then you engage in discussion with experts. They will tell you what are interesting research problems. Engage in discussion with donors. What do they want? What kind of social science research ICSSR want? What kind of research CSIR may want research on women in science. So, you have an interesting problem. Then ethnographic or exploratory work can also produce problems, new problems. So, research itself produces research problems. Ethnographic research produces research problems. Read academic and research. This is I say a simplest way and least time consuming way of identifying a research problem. Look at the sections on problems for future research. In all good journals, at the end of all good researches, problems for future research are defined. And another way is go to conferences and workshops in your field of study. Discussion with experts. My PhD problem was selected in discussion with my PhD supervisor. He had conducted a large survey of fertility and family planning organization in 1972, and he wanted me to conduct a longitudinal study in 1979 when I did my PhD in a subsample of the respondents of the previous study to study change in preference age and whether desires expressed in 1972 study were actualized or people differed in their behavior from their intentions. This is how my problem was selected. So, this problem was selected in discussion with experts. You can discuss with donors. We conducted a baseline study to estimate critical parameters for intervention in maternal mortality through reducing postpartum hemorrhage in Udaipur district of Rajasthan, and this research problem was given to us by Pathfinders International, New Delhi in February 2010. Now, this research problem, we did not decide this research problem for ourselves. Pathfinders International gave us this problem to explore, and we did research. Similarly, a baseline study to assess training needs of Panchayati Raj institutions in Himachal Pradesh. This was a research that we did. I will talk about this research in another lecture, and this was given to us by GTZ and Rural Development Ministry of Himachal Pradesh. We did this in 2009. Ethnographic work. I did a qualitative study of Muslim fertility in Kanpur. If you are interested in something, you can start doing your ethnographic work. And I explored if the Muslims want a higher fertility due to religious influence. Similarly, one of my PhD students did an ethnographic study of Maoist violence in the state of Jharkhand. It was not easy to do this study. Spending 2 years in the field, in the villages of Jharkhand which are affected by Naxalite violence is not an easy thing to do, but he was passionate about understanding various complexities, various aspects of violence, what he calls in the war zone, and therefore he studied this. And he came up with lots of interesting hypotheses about the nature of violence which are new, fresh for the academic community. To give you an example of how journals suggest a research problem, in studies of family planning, in a study exploring the paradox of intimate partner violence and increased contraceptive use in sub-Saharan Africa, published in this journal, the authors write, toward the end of the study they write, to quote, "Gender inequality at the community level has a larger effect on women's use of maternal health services than gender inequality within the household." There are various types of gender inequalities. Gender inequality at the community level, gender inequality at the household level. So, this article published in Studies in Family Planning is suggesting that gender inequality at the community level has a larger effect on women's use of maternal health services than gender inequality within the household. Future research should examine how cultural norms influence the relationship between IPV and contraceptive use. Now, here is a research problem. So, just go to library or go to internet, identify a good article in a good or international reputed peer reviewed journal published in last 1 or 2 years or last 5 years, not before that, because then you will have old research problems, and look at what they have done, what are their methods, what are their findings, what are the limitations of this research, and what do they suggest for the future. The research problem that they suggest for the future can be taken by you for further studies. So, here is a research problem, and in 1 hour time, 2 hours time, you have an interesting research problem which will be able to make an impact in the academic community. Then attend conferences, workshops, you will get lots of research problems from the papers presented in those conferences and workshops, and also from the discussion. I developed a desire to work on measurement of urbanization after presenting a paper on prediction of urban population for Maharashtra in the first conference of IASP, Indian Association for Studies in Population, held in IIPS Mumbai 1976. After presenting a paper using conventional measures of urbanization for prediction of population district wise, urban, rural, Maharashtra, we developed some discomfort with the measure of urbanization. So, I and Professor P.C. Saxena, who was serving as a faculty in IIPS at that time, developed a new measure. We started thinking about this issue, discussed with others, and finally developed a new measure of urbanization based on Arriaga's probabilistic approach to measure population concentration. Now, this paper was included in a volume subsequently published by IIPS. Attending conferences, workshops, participating in presentations and discussion, informal sessions, brainstorming sessions, panel discussions also helps you in identifying problems for research in which your research community is currently interested. Now, some reflections on sociology of research. Research, as I said, research is not a private affair, it is not subjective or individualistic, it belongs to the research community, and in sociological research there is a role for paradigmatic nature of research. Positivistic, Durkheim suggested certain positivistic methods of collecting, analyzing data. There is also post-positivistic or critical realistic research. The importance or rationale of a problem depends on socio-political and cultural context. A research problem which could be of interest in a totalitarian, in a socialistic, authoritarian kind of society would certainly differ from a problem which would be of interest in a democratic society. Problems on which socialist writers write are of a different kind than problems on which say market researchers or neoliberal researchers write. So, there is a social, political and cultural context of research. Also time, what was important in 1950s may be of no interest to us today. In my field of research, demography, studies of birth intervals was a great thing in 1960s and 70s, and lots of models were also developed. Today we are not interested in those things, because direct data on fertility, direct data on mortality are available for planners, and actually there is a lot of data today and we need to analyze them. In social sciences, policy implications are also often the guiding force behind research. Now, this positivism, I would spend just 1 or 2 minutes on this. Positivism is due to Emile Durkheim, and he developed the framework of scientific research in sociology by dealing with macro level facts. He is considered to be the founding father of sociology. He said that in place of studying individual level factors behind suicides, let us compute suicide rates and let us see the variations in suicide rates, and he developed a theory of suicide on the basis of that. Ultimately, he tried to relate suicide to institutional patterns, but the study was based on facts, empirical data on the suicide rates, which cannot be individual. Rate belongs to a community or a society. Now, using Durkheim's work, you may study suicide rate, homicide rate, crime rate, percent death due to neoplasm or cancer, unemployment rate, agricultural losses, etc., by using secondary data and sophisticated statistical models with independent variables of your choice. You do not have to collect data always. You already lot of data in census, NSSO, NFHS, and surveys conducted by reputed academic institutions of the country are available, and you can treat them as secondary data and write research papers. George Jiff, using the positivistic approach, developed a mathematical law of migration and tested and validated it on the basis of data on different modes of transportation. This is an example of mathematical type of research. There is even a journal, the Journal of Mathematical Sociology, which publishes papers based on application of mathematics, not simple mathematics, advanced mathematics. And the contributors to this journal are usually the mathematicians or sociologists working in American universities who are well trained in mathematical traditions, and they write on homophily or gaze, labor market, age structure, rationality, all kinds of sociological and social issues using mathematical models. American sociology is highly mathematical. Indian is more influenced by European tradition, which is ethnographic and theoretical. There is also in sociology critique of positivism, your social thought. If you have done a social thought course or even otherwise basic courses in sociology, you know positivism, critique of positivism, by symbolic interactionism, women standpoint theory of gender, race, class, culture. Michael Foucault's disciplinary society talks about connection between power and knowledge. Means they are attacking the positivistic notion that research and researchers are independent. Positivism assume that research and researchers are independent, and in positivistic tradition or so called scientific tradition, therefore an attempt is made to minimize the role of researcher by expecting him or her to conform to norms of scientific community, norms of conducting research which belong to the scientific community. So, for example, sampling, how do you select a sample? You must follow probability sample, stratified random sample, or some other kind of sample which is well established in literature, and the selection of subjects should not lie on your subjective decisions. It should lie on say laws of probability. You know, so in postmodern, post-colonial, post-structural kind of theories, there is a linguistic turn, and people have started talking about language, metaphors, multiple meanings of the words. So, there is also a discursive nature of theory. Ethnomethodology question that there are definite meanings which belong to words. So, this linguistic turn takes a postmodern kind of turn, and at the toward the end, I would say that researchers face a few questions. If you are going to do research in sociology, you must be able to answer some of these questions. What is your research philosophy? Do you belong to positivistic tradition, symbolic interactionist tradition, or post-colonial, post-structural tradition? What is your standpoint? Then what is your object of study? You must be very clear about the object of study. Upon which theoretical influences are you drawing? There are so many theories and so many theoreticians. If you say that you are following a particular methodological theory, say grounded theory, or if you say that you are using symbolic interactionist theory, you must be familiar with what does this theory say, who are the founding fathers of this theory, in what circumstances for studying what kind of problems has this theory been applied. You must be thorough about this, and then what contribution do you hope to make in literature, and all these things will decide your research questions. There is also an action research which says that if this action research is related to planning, and this is mostly part of applied research, that if you have to take some policy decision, how do you take? Study empirically the consequences of taking different decisions. You can use experimental method, you can use qualitative method, you can use longitudinal panel data, and in methodology lecture we will talk about some of these issues. Now, at the end, let me also warn you that there are some common mistakes that researchers make. You should not make that mistake. One, that you are exploring a insufficiently motivated research question. I have taken these points, these are not my points, I have taken these points from Anmol Bhattacharya's book Social Science Research, and he says that sometimes researcher makes a mistake of choosing insufficiently motivated research. You are going to do, if you are writing an MPhil thesis, you are spending 2 years. If you are writing PhD, you are spending 4, 5, sometimes 6, 7 years. The research issues should be interesting and motivating to you. Remember that you are not pursuing research fads, what are in fashion these days, and fashion change very fast, because they will have limited shelf life. You would like to make a contribution which will be known 4, 5, 6 decades later also. Lewis Ward's paper is known even today. Whenever we write anything on urbanization, we refer to Lewis Ward's paper Urbanism. So, fads are normally to be avoided. Then there are some unresearchable problems. There are so many social questions, but all of them cannot be researched. There are also some favor, you should not select your research problem because there are some common research methods or fashionable research methods. Suppose logistic regression methodology in statistics is fashionable these days. This should not be the cause of choosing logistic regression for application to your data. You must exercise your mind, you must exercise your thought, you take your own decision, look carefully, reflexively, look at traditions, but also apply your mind and decide what should be your methods. Similarly, blind data mining is also not a good research in which you just collect the data, collect any kind of data and then look for how to analyze and what to do with these data. I remember this is the kind of mistake, as a statistician I know that this is the kind of mistake that medical researchers often make, that their research students collect data, all kinds of data on causes of deaths and diseases and drugs and healing practices, and come to a statistician, sir, tell us some what appropriate research technique can be applied to analyze data. Research is a well integrated process from your research questions, objectives to findings, everything is integrated, and therefore you have to pay heed to all aspects of research. I suppose after listening to me for 1 hour, you now know how to select a research problem. If you do not find any other thing interesting, or you do not have time to interact with donors or attend conferences, workshops, the simplest way, I say to our method of selecting a research problem is to read research papers in journals. Just read one good research paper in one good research journal. Look at what problems for future research are suggested toward the end of the paper, and you can take that problem for your study. Thank you very much.